What is the best water to drink? That's an extremely interesting question to me because it gets me thinking on a lot of different levels. Right off the bat, I can't help but think, why are we the stupidest animals on this planet when it comes to what to eat and what to drink? All of the other animals on this planet have figured that out, except us. The fact that we have to ask that question should make us stop and think about that for a moment. What's wrong with us? Why are all the other animals doing this without having to have science to back it up? It's simple. How did these animals learn what to do? In most cases, their parents showed them what to eat and where to drink their water. Yes, I understand the world is damaged. It's a big part of my message, isn't it? Our environment's damaged. The water and air is polluted. So it does pose a different question, but still, we should still have the answers to those questions. Something is wrong with us when our parents can't teach us the right information. Stop and think about that for a second. A huge part of our problems lie within our traditions. We knew a long time ago what to eat and what to drink. What happened to us? When did we lose that knowledge, and why can't we find that knowledge? Why is there so much controversy over the most important things in our lives, like what to eat and what kind of water do we drink? And then there are those that gotta have the science. Science is a belief. There's no more faith in science than faith in anything else you want to believe in. I feel sorry for you who believe your only answer comes from science, because we live in a sick world. We can't trust science. It's a shame. And what's really a shame is we don't need science. So whenever I try to make some sense out of an extremely confusing issue like water, because there's so much information on both sides, plus water's not as simple as we might think it is. What I do is I rely on my sense of logic. Fortunately for me, I've been given a gift. I have a really good sense of logic. And it's what helps me make some sense out of controversial issues. Because it's hard to know who's telling the truth until you find enough pieces of the puzzle and you go, okay, I recognize this type of person who says those type of things, and they link to other people who say the same type of things, and they're attacking the truth. The powers that be don't want us to know what kind of water to drink anymore. They want us to know what kind of food to eat. That's why there's so much confusion around it. So, if I use my common sense or my sense of logic, what would we be doing in an ideal world? Well, I know what we would be doing in an ideal world every time I got thirsty. There'd be fruit trees all over the place, all different shapes and sizes, flavors. Yum, 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 I'm thirsty. Ow! That's what life would be like. And then when we drank water, what would be the best choice? Rainwater would be ideal. Spring water that's really deep, that's been compressed. Glacier melt. Those waters are the best. When it comes right down to it, we really are not supposed to be drinking water that much. We're supposed to be eating our water. The best water to consume is the water that's found in the fruits and vegetables. It's unique in the same way that glacial melt water is unique and spring water is unique if it's underground deep enough and there's pressure to it. When I try to make some sense out of this, the one thing that makes most sense to me is the total dissolved solids in water. Because we want our air to be clean, our water to be pure, and our food to be natural. To get pure water, you do look at the TDS. And from what I've read, you want a TDS below 50. Reverse osmosis, all these purified water systems, including distilled water, is below 10. Distilled water is 1 parts per million. TDS. Some people say we need to restructure that, and might even need to remineralize it, have some salt to it, Celtic salt, Himalayan salt. A lot of products out there that make these type of claims. And of course you got all these naysayers that are going to be coming out attacking these people. But you have to understand that certain information and knowledge is going to be attacked. And you're going to see a lot of information that looks really convincing that's going to say, oh, this is all hokum. Nothing to eating raw fruits and vegetables. Dietary supplements, those don't work. It's very confusing. And again, what they say is you want the TDS to below 50. And the reason for this is because when it's below 50, hydronium is created. That's H3O. And the beauty about living water, if we can call that, in fruits and vegetables, and I can do that, and I'll explain that later, hopefully, if I remember. It has H3O2. And again, you're going to find websites that are saying that's all poppycock. But take a look at Dr. Patrick Flanagan, named 1997 Scientist of the Year by the International Association for New Science. 100% raw foodist. You know, he's onto something. And that's what he identified. He found a new discovery in the Hunzen water, glacial melt water. It had this H3O2, these hydrides, H- ions. And he also found it in the juices and in the foods of fruits and vegetables. The same thing. And what makes it unique is that it has an extra electron. It's a hydrogen atom, negatively charged with an extra electron. And that's one of the main goals we want when we look for water. We want water to hydrate us. It does other things, it flushes other things out, but the main thing we're looking for in water is water that can hydrate us, that has these extra electrons that can help us process these thousands of operations that need that. Not to mention it can go after the free radicals. And where are those at? Where are those extra donating electrons at? In your fruits and vegetables. That's why the solution is so simple. You don't need science. If you understand what to eat, you understand what to drink. That's why there's a symbiotic relationship with us and fruit. If the fruit trees nourished everywhere, we would be flourishing everywhere. We wouldn't have war, crime, violence, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and a sick group of people who create all this confusion saying smoking cigarettes doesn't cause cancer. We're seeing the same stuff now attacking clustered or structured water. It's all hokum. There's no science behind it. Don't look for science, my friends, even though I just threw some at you. Use your common sense or your sense of logic. In an ideal world, I should be able to grab berries and peaches and any type of juicy fruit around to quench my thirst when I need to. And if I'm out walking and exploring and having fun and playing, I'm going to be burning some calories, so it only makes sense I'd be getting some nutrition with that at the same time, some of those calories, macronutrients. And of course, the whole point is we don't live in an ideal world anymore, do we? I don't see any fruit trees right in my vicinity. Although there may be some mulberry trees around the corner that I haven't found yet. But that's a problem with our species. Oh boy, we're so disconnected. We don't even know what water to drink. It's so confusing. And again, what I've read, I'm not going to say I know everything about water because there's a lot to be known about water. But they say that if you go above 50, those extra particles that are in the water, whether it's pesticides, herbicides, whatever it is, some sort of negative frequency, it's going to block those negative ions, electrons. And once you get up to 200, it's completely blocked. You don't get any of those extra electrons with a TDS above 200. Now, mineral water is 250. Spring water can be not as pure, and if it's underground real deep, remember that creates hydronium, H3O, so we get an extra electron there. Again, the purified water is below 10 ppm. Interestingly, the EPA allows for up to 500 ppm. The World Health gives you a whole 1,000 ppm. That's okay. 1,000 ppms. And yet if it goes above 200, we're not going to get any of those electrons. So what's the best water to drink? You know, again, I said water is a confusing subject. Dr. Lee Lorenzen figured out a way to structure his water, kind of like how Patrick Flanagan found that if he put some rubies or quartz crystals or gemstones in water, it reduced the surface tension of the water. Well, Dr. Lee Lorenzen found a way to use magnets or some other system to structure his water, and wanted to go get a patent on it. He now has a couple patents. And I wish I could remember the details to this story, because all I can remember long ago was an estimate, and that's all I can repeat now were the estimates I thought I remembered. Don't quote me on them. Because when he went out to get a patent on his water, he found, or was told rather, by his lawyers that everything altogether should cost about $7,000, the research and the legal fees and all. But it turned out to prove that his water and his technique did something, they had to know more about water, which they didn't understand. So he ended up spending a couple $100,000 in research trying to be able to come up with the science that could prove what his thing did worked. And when he did that, he went around the world and looked at all these places that claimed to have water that had healing powers. And guess what he found? It was H3O2. It was structured water. Except when you took it away from where it was at, it lost its structure. And how did it get structure? Well, because it went through the different rocks and stuff, just like Flanagan put gemstones in his water, or quartz crystals or rubies. The water going through from up springs can also go through volcanic, all sorts of different rocks, and can help structure the water. So, again, you can't take that water and take it away. And even Patrick Flanagan found that if you put those gemstones or whatever in the water and it reduces the surface tension, all you have to do is bump the container and you lost all that structure. Then so what you can have water that's, get most of your water from your fruits and vegetables. This is one of the reasons why the solid food vacation on juices works so powerful, because you're getting all this structured water. But then if you're going to need to drink extra water, use distilled water, reverse osmosis, whatever you feel comfortable with. Then it's up to you to whether or not you decide you want to put some sort of products, like Patrick Flanagan has a lot of products that claim to restructure the water. And then you could add some other types of mineral salts if you think that's something you need to do. I don't go to that trouble. Not saying it's not worth the time or not, because I just don't drink all that much water because I eat so much water. And then there's another thing you can do. They call it vortexing. And again, you're going to find people who criticize structured water. They're going to criticize vortexing. They're going to criticize all of this. And they're going to promote allopathic medicine and link you to websites that do the same thing. They're skeptics and they criticize anything that's against the status quo. Again, they don't want us to know how powerful water is, just like they don't want us to know how good food is. So, the water is, again, it should be simple to understand. It shouldn't be any harder for us to figure out what to eat and drink as it is for a deer or any other animal. So there's two main points I want to summarize right now about my video. Right off the bat, there's something wrong with our traditions. We shouldn't have to ask that question. The fact that we have to ask what's the best water should make you think what's wrong with us. Something's wrong. And then the other is, why is there so much controversy over this subject? Why are people attacking anything related to any of this? Why are they attacking the vortexing? Now, I'm going to share a quick story about vortexing. I coached a woman back in 2003. She had melanoma. Interestingly, on her third day of a juice fast, while taking a hot and cold shower, the tumor just fell right off her skin. But I went over to their house. Her and her husband were Nikon magnet distributors, and I was familiar with those products. I had actually traded services for some products several years back, except it had been several years back. And when I went over there, one of the things they showed me was their latest version of the magnetic sole inserts they put in shoes. And I said, yeah, that looks a whole lot better than the ones I got a long time ago. They made some good improvements. He goes, and what they did for me, they said, look, we want you to stand right here and put your hands out like this. And they pushed down on my hands, and of course I tipped over. And then they put these magnets, they put them on the ground, I'm barefoot, and I stand on these magnets, I put my hands out, and they push down just as hard, and I'm grounded, like as if somebody nailed my feet to the floor. It makes you a believer when you have something like that happen to you. And then, of course, I get off the magnets and I get tipped over once again. Same pressure. And then they showed me another thing that they sold, the company sold. And it was one of these vortex machines that had magnets in it. And they put just regular reverse osmosis water in it. And they had it spinning, and it looks like a little vortex, a little tornado inside the water, a little blender. And they had me drink some of that. And they said, now this will last for a whole day. And they had me stand out there one more time and put my hands out. And guess what? They couldn't tip me over because I had drank that water with vortex in it. So how do you argue with things like that? There's a lot we don't know. So when it comes to something as complicated as what to eat and what to drink, we got to rely on our sense of logic. We have to look at our anatomy. It's clear what we're supposed to eat. More confusing what to drink, but once you understand what you eat, you realize, my gosh, look at the difference between what I was doing and what I am doing now. I was eating this diet, and it had, in America, on average of 1.4 cups of water per 1,000 calories. 1.4 cups of calorie for 1,000 calories. Now that I'm eating this way, I'm getting 8 to 10, 12 cups of water per 1,000 calories. I don't need to, and they say we need to have at least 4 cups of water per 1,000 calories. I don't need to drink all that extra water, they tell me, when I'm eating food that doesn't have any water. And then the water you're going to be drinking, the chances are, if it's tap water, that comes in around 100 to 200 ppms. So that's not going to hydrate you. That's why I coach people. And they start my program, I say one of the most important things we want to know is your water percentage. Let's get a scale that measures your water percentage to see where we are when we start. And people say, I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. I'm only at 50%. 100 days later on nothing but juices, they go up to 60%. And why? Because it has that extra electron to hydrate the body. So water makes a difference. How about the pH? Don't fall for that alkaline water crap. Now, you could argue that the best water is alkaline water because fruits and vegetables are alkaline. But it isn't the alkalinity of water that makes a difference. You cannot become alkaline or absorb minerals from water any more than you can from eating dirt. And the distilled water is not going to leach any other minerals or anything else out of the cells of our body. It just doesn't work that way. A lot of false claims. And how do you make sense out of this? Well, you look at people who poo-poo something, and then you look at what else they say, or even you look at the argument. I revisited my file on water the other day and was reminded of an article I read several decades ago. Someone attacking this, and they always attack anything that's related to natural hygiene. And natural hygiene is fair game for a lot of things because they don't understand the ripple effect. But there's some things they do understand pretty well. But when I looked at this guy's attack, I go, whoa, you're throwing a straw man in there. I'm not sure if more of a red herring, perhaps. This guy says, oh, yes, well, I guess it is a straw man. I guess the more I think about it. They're saying that that people say that you want to have organic minerals. And he says, there is no such thing. It's all, organic means that there's a carbon attached, and there's no carbon attached to minerals. All minerals are inorganic. There's no such thing as an organic mineral. And this is how you're being deceived. And there's several people who do this, and they're both doing the same thing. They're putting disinformation out there, confusing the average person, because the average person doesn't understand that, what's really going on. And what's going on in this case is that in my Webster's Dictionary, 66th edition, I have 8 definitions for organic. Number 4 has to have a carbon attached. Number 5, it's of, like, or, what's the other word? Of, like, or is from a living system, from a living force. So it's appropriate to call something organic if a living system brought it to life, like a plant brought it to life. So you can call minerals inside plants organic using the 5th definition. And what you're going to find is people say, oh, that's a lie. Definition is number 4. Who says there's only one definition and that I can't use definition number 5 to describe things? So in order to make sense out of some things, you got to look at what else that person says. What else do they attack? And many times we're not in a position to go, oh, that is bullshit. You might think, oh, he's attacking that, but you're supposed to. No. And what I'm talking about here, I'll probably lose a dozen subscribers here because y'all been duped and you haven't looked into this well enough. You don't understand the Hegelian problem, reaction, solution. If you don't understand what I just said and then you reject everything else I say, you're a fool. You know what I'm saying? Because what I'm talking about now is one of the things this guy attacked. And that is people who who question climate change. And what you have to understand about climate change is Al Gore flipped his graph. Deception, 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 deception. You got to know what to look for. Al Gore flipped the friggin' graph to make it look like carbon dioxide comes after global warming. Or the other way around, that carbon dioxide comes before global warming. He flipped it, it's the other way around. Global warming, carbon dioxide. It's the consequence, not the cause. So right there, that's deception. Carbon taxes, global problem, global solution. That's what the Hegelian problem reaction is all about. It's all about keeping us poor. So keep in mind, I always say, two parts of my message on my YouTube channel. Ultimate control, ultimate tool of health, ultimate tool of control our health, ultimate tool, absolute tool of control, usury and money and keeping us poor, taxing us to death. The power to tax is the power to control and to destroy. A lot of y'all don't know that Trump wisely got us out of the climate accords and saved U.S. $5 trillion by the year 2020. $5 trillion. This is how the powers that be work. They create a fictitious global problem, man-made global warming, and then they want you to react, oh my God, the polar bears are going to be dying, and the reverse is happening, right? And then their solution, a carbon tax. We're going to tax everybody. And what saddens me is the vegetarian community has jumped onto this thinking that cows, we can now blame people eating meat for global warming. Don't use that as an excuse. We've got too many other great excuses for people to not eat animals. And if you buy into that one, now you're promoting a way to keep us enslaved. You have to understand the ultimate tool of control and the absolute tool of control. You have to understand what it takes to be healthy, what to eat, what to drink. You have to understand that people who rule the world have so much money we can't comprehend it, but they don't want us to have any. And because they have all that money, they can control the educational systems so that our so-called experts can get degrees, PhDs in chemistry, and not know the truth about anything, and actually think that somehow our allopathic medicine is in some way scientific. There's nothing scientific at all about our current medical system. It's about as bogus can be. Oh, but it's scientific. Look at the studies we've done. None of you guys are doing our studies. Well, damn it all to hell. You don't want to do a study for a drug for a lifestyle-related problem. And you're arguing with that. So the key here, and this is why I created my special teaching tool, there's 2 tests you have to pass when it comes to logic. Medicine fails the first one right off the bat, so don't get tricked into looking at their details. Screw their details, because they already failed the first test, the structure test. They're putting the cart before the horse for a problem within our control. It's called modus ponens in Latin. When we use logic, that's the only thing we need to understand about logic. Modus ponens. Don't put the cart before the horse for a problem that's 100% within our control. And don't go looking for logical fallacies and systems with invalid structures. The medical system has an invalid structure. 2 tests. They fail the structure test. They're going the wrong way. You don't treat a problem when you can remove the cause. And that's what all they do. I get riled up when I think about how easily we're tricked and fooled and expect science to come along and save the day. No! You are the hero. You are the only one who can decide to eat better and drink better. Evaluate the information on both sides. Look for deception. Did they flip a chart? Are they supporting allopathic medicine? Are they supporting man-made global warming? Global taxes? Are they trying to keep us poor? Are they trying to take away our responsibility? It's hard to make some sense out of this. That's why it's so powerful to take a solid food vacation. Because your brain starts thinking better. You start feeling better because you're getting all those extra electrons. The best water, Drink some juices, make some vegetable juices. So what I'm doing now this time of year, I usually start off my day by making about 3 liters of vegetable juice. Have 1 or 2 before my first bike ride. Now that the weather's changing, I'm getting out here a little bit earlier. Sometimes I might not even drink any and wait till I get home. Usually I like to earn my calories. And then when I get back home, I have another liter or 2, quart or 2 of vegetable juice. Best way to hydrate ourselves is with living water. H3O2. Oh, that's all bogus. Or how about making sure the TDS is below 50? So, do you need to do anything else? I don't know. Have fun with it. Look into it. It's hard to argue with somebody when you can become firmly rooted in the ground by drinking water. It really is amazing, isn't it? So, I've pretty much covered quite a few topics there toward the end. Wasn't planning on going there, but sometimes it's kind of hard for me not to make sure that I tell a complete story to make you understand the big picture. Health, I know, is number one. You guys really want to know what the best water is. I'm hoping that maybe this title might draw more people who have never been to my channel before to here. And I want you guys to understand that there's 2 huge messages I want y'all to understand. We've got to go upstream. Learn how important it is to eat our water. Honor that symbiotic relationship with the only food that wants us to eat it, fruit. Work downstream. We gotta make this environment better. We shouldn't have to worry about our air not being clean and our water not being pure. And yes, that's not the way it is anymore. We no longer live in an ideal world. But if we can reach the tipping point, things can change, and then within about 7 generations, we would be living in an ideal world, and I guarantee you, future generations are going to be in a treat because of what we did today. So go out there and do it, and have your treat for your day.